incredible atmosphere today. That cross-section of Egyptian society that left Tahrir Square yesterday is back in force now. They've managed to re-energize the protest. There's very young children, women, older men here. People are singing and dancing. There are many instruments in the square, and it's more full here than it has been in days.
My name is Gene Sharp, and this is the work I do.
What do you do? How would you describe your work?
Because it doesn't fit a lot of the people's preconceptions. Primarily, I try to understand the nature and potential of nonviolent forms of struggle to undermine dictatorships. We don't know quite how it spread, but it certainly did into 30-some languages in different parts of the world, on all continents except Antarctica. The famous 198 methods. This seems to have been an extraordinary response. That's simply the 198 specific methods, the specific forms of strike or economic boycott or civil disobedience or protest. Exactly the counterpart of military, different kinds of military guns or bombs in a military struggle. Unless they have something instead of violence and war, they will go back for violence and war every time.
We see people in many countries and many situations that feel there is nothing they can do, and that the steps they can take are mainly in sort of waiting for an external group to assist them in their liberation or to come in and help them by some means. And what this work does is show people that they themselves can be responsible for their own future, for their own liberation.
People are beginning to liberate themselves. You know, they don't have to depend on an outside power. This is Sergei, my cat, named after Sergei Popovich. But they don't have to depend on an outside power. They can do it themselves. And can you imagine how good that makes a country feel? That we did it ourselves. And that's why it's so important that we transfer the skill and knowledge. There's no reason for the United States to be occupying anybody. Let the people alone. Give them the power to change their government if they want it changed.
To be counted as a threat to a tyrant is a matter of pride, I would say. It means we're effective. It means we're relevant. It means out of this very small office, we produce work that threatens regimes. And I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
As my writings and research on this became more disseminated, we found people coming to us and asking us what to do. And people may be a little surprised. I don't tell them what to do. You know. But you can learn. So I have this speech that I regard as very introductory. I think it was maybe 70 or 80 pages. To take off like that was a confirmation that the analysis was more or less accurate. It didn't spread because of good propaganda or some sales pitch. It spread because people found it usable. They found it important. We had no contacts in Russia. Somehow or other, from dictatorship to democracy, got into Russia. This new translation was at a print shop in Moscow and was being printed. While the presses were operating, the FSB raided the print shop. The FSB was the new version of the KGB. And he looked at this item in the presses. He ordered the presses to stop and denounced the publication. He says that book is a bomb. The page proofs were taken to another printing press outside of Moscow and nevertheless printed. And they were on sale in Moscow in 2 independent bookstores that tended to publish dissident literature when they could. Quite remarkably, both of those print shops caught fire very quickly. And that was the fate of the free press in Russia, publishing from dictatorship to democracy.
One thing that makes me very comfortable is that the books are there, the literature is there, it's online, it's in people's homes and people's hard drives, and it's being disseminated at a level where that cannot stop, and it cannot be stopped. People go to great lengths to discredit this work, and there was one case where President Chavez had referred to our staff as the bunch of gringos at the Albert Einstein Institution don't understand Venezuela. And I thought, well, it's true that we may not fully understand the situation in Venezuela. It's probably quite complex, but I'm not a gringo. And we also were accused in a book for having trained paramilitaries that were being sent to assassinate President Chavez, and that training happened on a farm in Colombia, a country I've never been to, and I've never even held a gun, and you know, it's all very strange.
Gene Sharp, George Bush y sus ideólogos de este golpe suave mecha lenta, señores, este plan de ustedes aquí en Venezuela, olvídense. En último caso, lo que pudiera ocurrir es una explosión revolucionaria. Jacobina.
I have not trained paramilitaries, no.
کاخ سفید، واشنگتن دی سی. جین شارپ، نظریه پرداز نافرمانی مدنی و تئوریسین انقلاب‌های مخملین که تألیفاتی در این موضوع دارد. وی از اوامر CIA جهت نفوذ در کشورهای مورد نظر می باشد.
Now you've seen our office, you can see how well funded we are. No, I was very delicately offered funds from the CIA at one point. But I said no, and we have never had any funding or support from the CIA. It just hasn't happened. We don't do that. I had gone to Beijing after the Tiananmen Square protests were well underway, That whole event, which it should be remembered, was not just in Beijing, but reportedly in 350 other cities of China. Similar protests were going on, but they were not planned. They were not prepared. There was no strategic decision. There was no advanced decision how long you stay in the square and when you leave. What became very clear to me in retrospect was that the students in the square were operating with great commitment and bravery, but they really didn't know what the hell they were doing. The students had no plan. They were improvising all the way through. And later on we know that many of those Chinese people who were out in the streets to block there in another day were shot and killed. The attitude that you simply improvise and that the improvisation will bring you greater success is nonsense. It's actually the opposite. That if you don't know what you're doing, you're likely to get into big trouble. Atomization is when the regime attempts to make every individual in the society an isolated unit. It's one of the main ways that totalitarian systems seek to control their populations, make them all fear of each other, fearing to speak out and to act together, never telling a neighbor or even sometimes a family member what you really think. By seeing the example of the demonstration of bravery by other people, now it's we. And we can do something that I alone could not do.
These pillars are holding up the government, like my fingers are holding up this book. And I develop a strategy to undermine each of those pillars: the police, the Sangha, or the religious institutions, the workers, whatever. Every organization. And as they weaken and start to collapse, the government will collapse when those pillars are broken. Ideally, we want those pillars not destroyed, but transferred over to the democratic movement.
If you want these pillars to shift sides, you need to co-opt people. You can co-opt people by two means. If you put a price on what they are doing for the sake of the regime, or give them the clear message that there will be a place for them in the future society. This is exactly what Otpor was done. We were telling the police that we are both victims of the same system. They are pushed to do things they wouldn't like to do. We are pushed to the streets instead of sitting in the classrooms. There is no reason to have war between victims and victims. One victims wear blue uniforms, other victims wear blue jeans, but there is no reason for this conflict. And this worked, really worked. And it worked in Georgia, it worked in Ukraine, it worked in many other places in the world. This is the way you do. You go and co-opt from discursive pillars. You don't throw stones to the police.
There are many people in conflict situations that really would like to use violence, but their opponents really have more military weapons and weapons of violence, which are usually physical weapons, than the potential resistors have. So if the resistors choose to fight with violence, their opponent has all the advantages in that situation because you're choosing to fight with your opponent's best weapons. But you can choose to fight with a totally different kind of weapon than these nonviolent forms, which are much more difficult for the opponent to counteract.
It's very difficult to build a nonviolent march because what you need is only one agent provocateur or only one lunatic or drunk person throwing stone at the police. So my question is, you have 20,000 peaceful demonstrators, you have one idiot breaking out the window, and these people got all of the media attention. So this is the message which can efficiently undermine your movement. big concentration tactics are very difficult to control. So what we were dealing with is like you would always, you go on the march and there is a risk of the people getting arrested. So what would you normally do? Instead of putting the big guys in front, you will put the girls in front. You will put the grandmas in front. You will put the military veterans in front. So the police is now faced with the friendly faces. And these people are actually carrying the flowers and the banners and smiling. So you make the situation less threatening, so you make the possibility of violent outcome.
When people are slaughtered, when they are beaten, this produces a process of what I call political jiu-jitsu, in which the opponent's supposed strength is used to undermine the opponent by alienating more people from supporting that regime, mobilizing more people into the active resistance.
It's a kind of backlash effect. If the regime is so brutal, then instead of intimidating people, which the regime intends, it causes other population groups and institutions to withdraw their cooperation and their obedience. And that loss of power and control, that more people join the resistance.
There are thousands upon thousands of people streaming down through the main boulevards, all heading in the same direction. It's quite something. They're waving green flags. People are hanging out of cars, giving the V for Victory signs. I was not sure people would turn up given the warning, and I'm wrong.
Massacre in Juma, 15 so far killed. معك أسامة. أني الحمد لله جبت لك رقم طبيب شاف القتل بالمعظمية. This is a video of a kid that's been shot at. One brother is shouting, "My brother, my brother." It's just a basic HD camera linked to a satellite modem, and we upload it on a streaming website where we can get the live feed. And we managed to get this to Al Jazeera today. They've been broadcasting the live images we were able to provide them with, because they cannot send their journalists. No one can, not a news outlet, not a single media outlet can send anyone or get any permission to film or, be there to verify. The reporter over there on the CNN, I was talking with her, just liaising what took place, what's gonna happen, and what information we can provide. The videos you've seen there on CNN, we have some people uploading these videos now on CNN, on Al Jazeera here, Arabic, Al Jazeera English, ABC, France 24, BBC, Sky. So we have someone uploading these videos on their websites, and we are already in contact with various media outlets now. If they need confirmation of videos or confirmation of fact verification or eyewitness accounts, we can provide that. Without the modern technology, you wouldn't be able to make it. Absolutely, the regime would have killed it in the put.
I feel good in a way that we're spreading the word, and if people follow Gene's advice on how to think about waging a nonviolent struggle, sooner or later they'll win. See, the advantage that we have using this form of struggle, the people against a tyrant, as long as we don't surrender, we never lose. And that's key. As long as you haven't given up, you haven't lost.
When I saw the developments in Egypt, I was quite amazed because they seemed so determined. They were being nonviolent. They, time and time again, asserted, "I'm not afraid." And many people are saying, "I'm not afraid." When I was seeing extreme brutality, I expected either the protesters may not come back again, and they submit, or some may go into violence, especially when there's been some scattered violence in the square.
ولكن ايه اللي خلى الجيش يساندنا في الاخر؟ اعتقد ان الجيش اصلا من الناس، يعني مجندين الجيش جزء من الشعب، والجيش ليه دور وطني كبير جدا. الشرطه قد يكون لها دور في تزوير الانتخابات، في حمايه الفاسدين، فمتورطين من سنين طويله، وبالتالي يدافعوا عن مصالحهم وعن بقائهم. وكنت لسه راجع من التحرير وداخل على الميدان من بوابات التفتيش اللي كنا عاملينها باستمرار يعني، وكان في كافيتيريا تقريبا مشغله تلفزيون بصوت عالي.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أيها المواطنون، في هذه الظروف العصيبة التي تمر بها البلاد، قرر الرئيس محمد حسني مبارك تخليه عن منصب رئيس الجمهورية
خطاب التنحي. فجننت لما سمعت الخطاب يعني، وقعدت اعيط، اللي هو اخيرا الحلم اللي بقالنا سنين استحملنا كتير عشانه حصل يعني. كان يعني لحظة بجد صعبة. دخلت الميدان بعدها جري وعمال ازعق، لقيت الناس كلها بيعيطوا، يصرخوا، بيضحكوا، بيرقصوا، بيغنوا. كان طبعا لحظة تاريخية يعني. وكان احساس بعدها انه يعني مش مصدق، يعني قعدت كذا يوم مش متخيل يعني معقول.
Somebody knew what they were doing, and we don't need anyone claiming credit for us or me or anyone if it's not deserved and if it's not documented.